All right, hey church, we are going to get started tonight. And listen, it's been like 14 weeks. We're almost at 14 weeks since we have met together on a Sunday morning, either in Winchester or Kemptville. And normally we would have had the State of the Gate meeting already, and we'd be progressing into the new year, kind of celebrating what God had done in last year and kind of casting some vision for the future. And you know, since this whole pandemic, I've gone through all kinds of different emotions. Like if I'm just totally transparent, totally honest with you, I started this thing being, very frustrated. I was frustrated. I was upset. I didn't know how to handle this. I found out some things about myself, maybe some control issues or planning issues, and I wanted to have a plan. I wanted to kind of know what's next. I wanted to have an idea of how to handle things. And I think at Southgate here at our ministry, we've kind of almost prided ourselves on being able to change and move with the times rather than being forced to do it. And this pandemic has been kind of forcing us to do things. And that's been difficult. That's been difficult for me to kind of grasp and understand and move forward with. And so, at this time, those frustrations, the sadness, the worry, in a sense, that has kind of moved a little bit over to hope and encouragement and light instead of darkness, and looking forward to what's next and how God is going to move. It has inspired compassion and inspiration to be creative and to find out kind of new ways to do ministry. And that's been a scary thing to be a part of, but it's also been an exciting thing to be a part of. And I think what spurred on my negative emotions was just the uncertainty. I mean, you might relate with that, all the uncertainty of, various things that we are going through as a church. I mean, not only in our personal lives, but corporately as a church family here. And so things like, I just kind of wrote some down. I found uncertainty in our building in Kemptville, right? In North Grenville, we had to stop construction. We were forced to do that. And that's difficult because I was like, God, you told me to do this. You laid it on our heart to kind of launch this building project and to move forward with it. And then we had to stop it. I found uncertainty in that we were unable to have our big give. And the big give is something you know if you're part of the Southgate family. 10% of our yearly income comes in on one day. Right? That's our Big Give Sunday. It comes in on one day, 10% of our yearly income, and we didn't have it. All right, and so that was kind of uncertainty in my mind. The Rink in North Grenville, right? I'm sure you've heard the kind of drama that has been going on with the Ottawa Senators and the Sens Foundation and kind of the parting of ways there. And we knew that the Ottawa Senators and the Sens Foundation, they were going to partner with us, but then this happened, and there's uncertainty in that. There was uncertainty with this new Ottawa West campus over in Westboro, and we felt like God was leading us to do this, and he had ordained all this kind of situation for us to kind of open the door and walk through, and then this pandemic hit, and what was going to happen with that. I had uncertainty in how our church was going to respond. In the midst of this, were they going to actually watch online? Was our family going to watch? Were they going to engage creatively online with us in our social platforms? Were they going to continue to give financially? Were they going to continue to pray for the body? Were they going to continue to reach out to their neighbors? And it was just all this uncertainty of like, I don't know what's happening here. This is so beyond myself. And as always, throughout my ministry here in Kemptville, and I think you would kind of attest to this as well, is that God took my worry and my anxiety, and he just said, I got it, and I'm going to look after it. And I'm going to carry you guys, and I'm the great provider, and he has done it time and time again. And so tonight, I want to update you, since we're not able to meet in person, I want to update you on several categories. We want to be as transparent as we can. We want to be open as we can, let you know exactly what's happening in the life of the church, and maybe kind of some of the business of the church and the organization of the church, let you in on the behind the scenes, and so that we can move move forward together, all right? And what we're going to do is I'm going to highlight several categories, and at the end of all of those categories, at the end of our kind of highlighting each of those sections, you're going to be able to hear some answers from me. And so at any time during this broadcast, if you have a question, you can write it in the comments, and we're going to try to address some of those questions. I can't guarantee, I'll just be honest, can't guarantee I'm going to have the answers to everyone, but I'll try my best. All right, and so if you do have a question in this time, you can write it down in the comments, and at the end, I will try to answer some of those. And so the sections are as follows that we're going to highlight tonight. The first is the Kemptville building project, okay? I'm going to give you an update on that, where we stand in all aspects of that. The second one is the Ottawa West campus. I'll kind of give you a highlight, the background to that, how it came about, what we're looking to in the future in that campus. We're going to talk about the outdoor rink and what that looks like over the next few weeks, the next few months, and moving forward with that. We're going to be talking about finances and what the budget kind of ended up at last year, seeing that the end of our church year ended with this pandemic, right? And the new church year started with this pandemic. And then finally, we're going to talk about reopening before I kind of get to some of those questions, okay? So here is the first category, right? The Kemptville building project. And so some of you might not know, but we were forced to stop construction for about 6 weeks, all right? And so 6 weeks, we weren't able to have anyone on site. The offices were closed. Construction completely stopped. No one was on site whatsoever. And that was to follow the Ontario health unit guidelines, and we wanted to kind of honor that. And so no construction happened. But since then, since the reopening of construction, and we've had volunteers show up, hockey construction, our management kind of construction management company has kind of been there, and contractors. But here's the deal. Since it closed down for 6 weeks, and all construction did, getting back into the swing of construction has been a little bit difficult. And it's difficult in finding contractors. It's difficult to get people on site because every kind of construction site is starting up again. And so there's great demand for example, right now we're looking for mutters and tapers for the drywall. It's very difficult to find them in this time because so many construction projects are starting up, and many of them are in the same stage that we are. And so we're looking at a little bit of a delay of the church opening. I mean, we thought we'd be open pretty much by now, but since that 6-week stoppage and then not being able to find exactly what we need for contractors, it's putting a delay a little bit on the project. The volunteers, we had expected off the bat, we had about 150 people sign up to be volunteers for that building. And you took the course, you went through the videos, you got all ready to do that. So far, we've had about 40 people out of those 150 actual volunteer to help out with the building project, okay? And so that we've had to hire contractors to fill in that gap. I know that we haven't been able to have Saturdays open, or we have had evenings and day shifts during the week, but the weekends have kind of been off, and so we haven't had the volunteer base that we initially thought we would. And there might be some opportunities coming up. For example, one of those is like watering the plants outside. We need someone to kind of show up and water all the new plants that have been planted throughout the property. And so we've had to hire more contractors to finish some of those jobs, and they are getting done. But let me just say, we do have a few volunteers who have shown up faithfully, and I'm talking about every single week for the last year. And so some people have come almost every single day. Some people come a few times a week. And out of those 40 people, there have been people who have been absolutely faithful in showing up. And I just want to say sincerely thank you for doing that, because I know that you could have been doing a whole bunch of other things and you chose to be there and you had the opportunity to, and I think God's going to honor that. And so thank you so much for coming in, day out, and sometimes at nighttime, and faithfully volunteering your time to finish up jobs that sometimes aren't glamorous, right? Sometimes just picking things up, cleaning up the job site, cleaning windows, but other jobs, they're skilled jobs like plumbers and contractors and carpenters and those kind of things. And so thank you so much for that. And listen, listen, there are going to be a few jobs left here the last several weeks of this project, and so we're honing in on maybe about 8 to 10 weeks here to finish up the project here in Kemptville. And if you do want to volunteer, we still use your help, all right? There's still time to do that. If you can only do a Saturday, we might be able to give you some jobs to do during that. And I think it's important to understand that this is all of our church, right? We're building this house. It's all of ours who are part of the North Grenville campus here. And if you have time to give, please let us know, and you can contact the church office. Let's talk about the finances of that Kemptville building. And so you remember that we started this pledge drive for $1,000 every seat for that building. Right now we're short about $250,000, okay? And so we've kind of gone through over half of that, and we've been faithful with that. But once COVID hit, we weren't able to do the big give. We're still about $250,000 short from that building to be completed and to kind of press through with what we're trying to plan, what we believe God has led us to. And so I just want to say, like, let's finish strong. If you've seen God's provision over this time, over this pandemic, and you were worried maybe how it started, and you're surprised at how it's kind of ending, and God has just kind of blessed you during that time, I would just say, be faithful in that, all right? If you're part of the North Grenville campus, be faithful in that, and honor God, and follow through with this thing that we really feel like God has led us to do here in North Grenville. And so be generous, please give. That kind of covers the Kemptville campus. You can listen, drive by, go check it out. You can stop by if you have a hard hat, if you have work boots. We'd be happy to give you a tour of the facility. You can peek through the windows if you don't have that. Please drive by, check it out. It is very, very exciting to be a part of. The stage we're at right now is we're mudding the drywall, all right? And so you kind of see all the different rooms. So let's jump to the next category here. The next category is the Ottawa West Campus, all right? The Ottawa West Campus. And so for some of you, you probably thought, hey, this was a surprise. I didn't realize this was happening. And let me just tell you, our series that we did back in March, so we started a series, and that series, the Breakthrough series, was all about gearing up for that campus launch. And then COVID hit, and so that wasn't the plan, and it was kind of all ramping up for that, and we weren't able to kind of follow through with that. And so this has been something that's been in the works for several years. So we have been working with what was known as Highland Park Wesleyan Church in Westboro, on the west side of Ottawa, and we had been working with them for several years, and their pastor, and I'd spoken there to help them along with kind of a restoration process and a renewal process, and it didn't kind of play out like they were hoping. And so over the last year, I've been meeting with their board and their people and discussing the possibility of opening a new location. And let me just tell you, there is a fantastic group of people who are very excited to jump into our family here at Southgate. And that's exciting for me, right? They just want it so bad. And there's several families, 12, 13 families who just want to be part of the core there and launch a new campus. Now, there is a building in Westboro that they own, but and it's a great little facility, but it's kind of too small for what we're believing God is going to provide for us. All right, and so it's a great little building in the heart of Westboro. You could drive by it if you want to, Highland Park Wesleyan Church, but it's not accessible. And we'd have to do a lot of renovations. And so we're actually looking to rent a facility somewhere around that area in the west part of Ottawa and start services. Now, the goal was that we were going to start services in September, but with COVID, it's really difficult to find someone who will rent you a space. And so we're not sure when that's going to happen, but we are going to start in about mid-July. We're going to start launch team, pioneer team meetings, okay? And so the people, the core group from Highland Park, and anyone else who feels led to, who feels called to jump into that new ministry and that new campus, from Winchester or Kemptville campus, you can jump into that new kind of pioneer spirit, that launch team over in Ottawa West. And we're going to start something fresh and something new that we're really, really excited about. And so the current building that's there, the plan is that we would use it for outreach purposes. And so we're trying to creatively think of ways that that building can be used in the heart of Westboro for outreach purposes, to reach more people for Jesus, and to leverage that site and that building for the people of Westboro. And so, listen, if you want to jump into that launch team, we don't have a date yet that we're going to launch a service because we can't find rental facilities at this moment. But if you want to be a part of that, if you want to start something new and something fresh, we would love for you to contact us. You can contact the church office at hello@southgatechurch.com, and we would love to kind of sign you up for us. And we're gonna let you know exactly when those meetings are going to start and going to take place. And so that is everything Ottawa West campus. All right, that's everything about that campus. Here is the next topic for the evening. It is the outdoor rink. All right. The outdoor rink. This has been a saga, hasn't it? This has been a super long thing coming. I remember when I first came to Emily and we moved here to North Grenville in 2010, and the next year we kind of said, there's no outdoor rink. We wanted to start a rink in Kemptville, and the people of the church stepped up like we always do at Southgate Family. They built a rink, and for 9-10 years we served Kemptville with a free outdoor rink. And we upgraded it, and there was boards, and we had LED lighting, all that kind of stuff. In 2015, we approached the Ottawa Senators and the municipality if they wanted to be a part of that. In 2019, the municipality decided with the new council they didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and that was difficult at the time. It really was. But what happened after that was just an absolute God story. And so after that happened and the municipality just kind of cut ties, didn't want to have a part in that, the Ottawa Senators came in and they stepped up and they said, we still want to do this. We still want to be a part of this. And they said, we want to give you more than we were originally going to. And so the Ottawa Senators Foundation stepped up and they decided that they were going to buy the boards and the installation of that product. And that equates to almost $80,000 that they were going to put into our project. Originally, they were going to do 50. They bumped it up to 80. And so I just want to let you know, those boards are actually ordered. And so they've already paid for them. They've ordered them. They're going to be shipped here in just a few weeks. And we're like absolutely excited about that because as you know, with the Ottawa Senators and the Sens Foundation, they've kind of parted ways. And this will actually be one of the last rinks that the Sens Foundation build. It might be their very last rink that they ever built. And we will have that opportunity. And so God just kind of ordained it. He worked it all out. He provided in the worry, in the mess of that situation, and he came through again. And so over the summer, you're going to see that rink go up, and the asphalt will get laid. There's going to be a concrete ring that the boards sit into. There's going to be a 6-foot fence all around. There's going to be benches and lighting, eventually basketball nets and basketball courts. We've already had someone step up with an outbuilding, someone step up with a ice resurfacer, kind of like a Zamboni. And so the plan is it with the outdoor rink. Listen, if you're watching and you have a local business here in North Grenville or in North Gore or Winchester, wherever, and you want to be a part of that community program, it's the only outdoor rink here in Kemptville. And so what we're doing is we're proposing, asking businesses if they want to donate a gift in kind, if they want to contribute in $5,000 segments for that, and we'll put their names on the boards, and this will be just a community effort. And so it's going to go up no matter what, but we're just giving people an opportunity and local businesses an opportunity to jump on into that project and do something great for our area. And man, what an amazing thing to see that thing finally go up and do something good for the kids in North Grenville. So this is the boards will be up before July 31st. And so that's kind of the target date because that's when the split between the Sens Foundation and the Ottawa Senators happen. And so it needs to be completed, at least the boards, the concrete, the asphalt needs to be completed by July 31st. All right, that's pretty much everything to do with the outdoor rink. If you have an outdoor, if you have a local business, you want to be involved in that, if you want to contribute financially to that, then let us know, and that would be a huge blessing, not only to the church, but really the greater community at large. Here's the next topic for the evening: finances. All right, finances. And so at State of the Gate, this takes up, we only have 2 votes normally at State of the Gate. One is for a slate of directors and one is for the finances. This is kind of one of those things that we didn't really know how this was going to play out. We didn't know what the finances were going to look like. And to be honest, when this pandemic hit, we slashed our budget as a church. And so we slashed our budget from about $1.1 million down to $500 and some thousand. And just to be very conservative, because we didn't know what was going to happen. Like a lot of people, right? There was uncertainty. We didn't know how it was all going to work out. Now, since that time, we weren't able to have our big give, which left us 1/10 shy of our budget, right? Because 1/10 of our budget comes in that Sunday, the last Sunday of the church year in April. But here's what happened since then. And so last year at this time, our givings were about 40% digital. Okay, so as you know, if you're part of Southgate, we don't pass a plate. We don't take up an offering during the Sunday morning. We have our boxes at the back. We have a box in the lobby, a give box. We have automatic withdrawals, text to give, all that kind of stuff. Last year at this time is about 40% online digital giving. Right now, as we speak, we're at about 98% digital giving. And so it blows my mind, the faithfulness of our church family. And so here's some really interesting things, all right? Now, while building givings are down, they are down significantly. Let me just tell you, the general budget last May compared to this May, all right? So this May, we haven't even met in person. Last May, we met, I'm pretty sure we met every Sunday. This May, we haven't met. So that's the first month of the church year. And did you know how those 2 months compared from May 2019 to May 2020? If we took those 2 months side by side, our givings have jumped, general givings have jumped 21.1%. Like, I don't even know how that happens. It's a God thing, and it's faithfulness of our church family. And so I just want to say thank you. Like we did this COVID budget. We prepared as directors and leadership of the church. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to handle this conservatively. We don't know what's going to happen. There's uncertainty in the air. But here's what I found out time and time again is that the world is a very uncertain place. Society's uncertain. Government is uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world that we live in. But here's the deal. God is certain. Time and time again. He just proves me wrong, and like my worried heart and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. He just says, "I'm faithful. Like I'm gonna do this," and he does every single time. And so I'm blown away. I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm just blown away, and I'm surprised, and I hope you are too. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to support the ministries of the church. I want to let you know that we have not shed any money out of our global missions budget, and so we've stuck that. We've cut every other line item in the church budget, but our global missions budget, what we give around the globe, we haven't cut any of that, right? We know a lot of people are hurting in a lot of different places, and we wanted to be faithful with that. And so I just want to say thank you so much for giving faithfully. General budget, we're still on track. We're doing a great job. Building, we can kind of jump in there. Like I said, $250,000. We're about short for that building, but I'm not worried about it, right? I'm done with that. I'm just kind of giving it to God, and I know that our church family is faithful. And so we are actually going to get rid of that COVID budget that we had planned, that conservative budget, and we're just kind of ramping up here. We're getting ready to ramp up and jump into all that God has for us, and we're going to go hard, right? We're going to go hard with what He's calling us to do and walk through those doors that He's opening. All right? And here is the final topic of the evening. It is the reopening plan. Now, last week, I addressed this on Thursday night, and I'm not going to go into a great deal about this because I'll just be honest, like it's still We don't know. There's no timeline. There's no date set in place. What we do know, and what you probably know, is that churches can open at a 30% capacity. Okay, and I know several churches who have done that, and that is fine. I mean, that's absolutely fine for churches that want to do that. But our conversation as staff and directors of the church is listen. I mean, there's no hurry to do this. The church is not a Sunday morning service. We've preached that for years. It is the collective body. It's what we do for the kingdom. It's the spreading of the kingdom of God. And Sunday morning is a great time to rally everybody together. But it's not necessity. We love doing it. We all love it. But it's not a necessity. And so there's no rush into that. There's a few things I want to highlight about that 30%. Is I just want, for me, I'm not interested in my children coming and seeing a whole bunch of people in masks. My kids have been at home for months. They haven't gone to a store. They haven't been really out in public and seen the way the world is now. And for them to show up at church, that should be a joyful, safe place, and see a whole bunch of people in masks is, in my mind, almost traumatic for them. We can't run a kids program. We're not allowed to do that. Families cannot shake hands. They can't sit with other people who they would normally maybe sit with. It's totally touchless. You would have to pre-register before you come. And again, we would literally have to do probably 5 or 6 services throughout the week. And as you know, a volunteer load to do that is very, very difficult. And so what we decided to do is we're going to have these drive-in services. And so we have one coming up this Sunday. I hope that you've made that a priority. I hope that you're going to come. I know maybe there's issues maybe about kids. It's fully interactive. It's going to be fun for them. We have bathrooms on site for kids who need to go to the washroom, all right? It's going to be a great rally, a great time to get everyone from the family together. So that's happening this Sunday. We're going to do that again in July, and then we're going to do it again in August, all right? And so that's kind of our plan, is these 3 kind of rally points, but in the midst of that, we want to slowly reopen. And so the goal is that things like smaller groups, so such as our AMP student ministries or our young adults programs, or maybe a life class, like possibly 101, or the finance class, or the launch teams over in the Ottawa West campus. Things like that would be able to gather at this 30% capacity kind of ratio. And then eventually, possibly mid-July, is we would have what we call watch parties. And so those who wanted to could pre-register. They could come on a Sunday morning, and we would watch the Sunday morning service together, just like you would in your living room or wherever you watch it. But we could gather, for those who wanted to socialize a little bit, to connect and receive prayer or possibly take communion. We could gather together, and there would be a pastor there to pray for you and to connect with you on those Sunday mornings, kind of mid-July moving forward. We're also launching a watch party over in Silver Lake. And so Silver Lake is our camp that we are a part of. And on Sunday mornings, starting in July, you'll be able to catch the Sunday morning services at Silver Lake all throughout the summer. We know we have a lot of people who have cottages there, and other people who gather up at Silver Lake. And so that will be a location that you'll be able to watch our services along with other family members at Southgate and other people who kind of desire to be a part of those services. And then when the time is right, when we feel like God leading us to, when the government kind of opens up the restrictions a little bit more, we don't know what time that's going to be. Maybe it's at the beginning of August. Maybe it's September. We will start opening up our services once more people can gather and those restrictions are lifted. And so I can't give a time frame on that, but we are going to try to push ahead with opening up in due time. But like I said, we're not in a hurry to do this. It's not happening like next Sunday or the Sunday after that. We want to take our time. We don't want to do it properly. And really, honestly, we just want to respect people. And respect our officials, what they're telling us, and honor those people who are most vulnerable. And so those are our categories, all right? We've talked about the categories here that I was going to mention. Now we're going to jump into questions. I haven't seen all the questions. I'm going to get them here. And so here are the questions for the evening. And so someone said, does Ottawa West have their own budget, or does Kemptville? And so I'm not sure exactly that whole question, exactly what you're referring to, but I can just explain it in this way. And so Southgate is one church. It's one church in several locations. We have one budget. That budget is broken out into 3 different sections over 3 different campuses. And so there's the mother main campus in North Grenville, and there's North Dundas, there's Winchester, and then in Westboro, there's Highland Park, or Ottawa West, as we're calling it. And each of those will have their own budget lines. But it's difficult to separate all of the budgets because the administration of the church functions in North Grenville. All the subscriptions, the curriculum, a lot of the ministry dollars, they flow through Kemptville and then get distributed to the other campuses. And so it's all one budget, but they will each have their own categories, and the campus pastors kind of know to work within those budget lines on the specific campuses. And so I hope that made sense. I'm not sure exactly if I answered your question, but I tried my best. They will have their budget line within the overall budget of Southgate as a whole. How have we fared financially during COVID? Okay, so I kind of answered that. The month of May, so that's our, we didn't have our big give, and our big give, we usually count on that because, like I said, the big give is 1/10 of our entire year's budget. And so that Sunday, the last Sunday in April, it is not unusual to get like $120,000 to $150,000 in one day. And in a church that has like a $1.1 million, $1.2 million budget, that's a lot, right? In one day. We didn't have that day this year. And so we didn't get that gigantic chunk of financial assistance here to kind of round out the year. But we also didn't have the expenses that we thought we were going to have towards the end of that year. And so normally we would have a lot of expenses around Easter time. Well, Easter was online this year. Normally we would have things like the yard sale that we'd spend money on, or different outreach events, and we were unable to kind of do some of those things because of the restrictions. And so we didn't have the expenses, and so we did all right. In the month of May, it's almost like the church rallied and people got behind online giving and digital giving. And like I said, 98% of our giving is online now. And if we look at this year's general giving in the month of May versus last year, we are above last year's by 21.1%, 2019 to 2020. So absolutely amazing. Hopefully that answered your question. Only time will tell. I'm not worried. I think the people of Southgate are faithful. We're all in this together. We kind of believe what God is doing, and because He just answered our prayer time and time again. All right. And so here's the next question: will more staff be hired to help with the new campus? That's a great question. And so we're just taking more questions here. That's a great question. So yes, we will be hiring more staff. We're not sure. We're kind of waiting on that a little bit because we're not sure how that plays out. What you maybe don't realize is that now we have a fairly large size building in Kemptville. We have a building in Winchester, we have a parsonage in Winchester, and we have a building in Westboro. And so that's a lot of facilities now that we need to maintain and look after and honor God with. We think that buildings are okay. I mean, they're ministry tools, all right? And that's what we want to leverage them for God and His glory. But we're looking at a facilities manager to manage that kind of stuff. So that's kind of in one area we're looking at that. We're also looking at the idea of possibly interns or that kind of thing to grow young leaders and to develop them. And so that's something that we're looking into. And then a lot of our staff were part-time, and so bringing them into full-time and looking at that and how does that fit into things in the church life. And so Pastor Kevin, he is going to be heading to be the campus pastor in Ottawa West. Pastor Matthew is still going to be the campus pastor in Winchester, and of course I will be the pastor in Kemptville and over the church here at Southgate. How many people make up 30%? And so that's a great question. And so reopening, someone asked, how many people make up 30%? So 30%, believe it or not, when the new building in Kemptville, for instance, I just take that one, if the new building in Kemptville opens, that, including the old building in Kemptville, which is not that old, but if you took those two things, we could probably have 250 people in that building. All right, so the capacity of that building would be sizable, so we could have 250 people gather in a service. Winchester, on the other hand, the capacity of that building, we would likely be able to have about 60 to 70 people at a time in that building. And so that kind of gives you some idea of the ratio that we're looking at. Again, we couldn't run a kids program, so it's really kind of gray as to what actually would take place or who would actually come to those services. I don't think we would be allowed to sing, for instance. You can't shake hands, you can't have a kids program, we couldn't serve coffee, these kind of things. And so those are things that we're all sensitive to and thinking about. How many AMP students could attend on an AMP's night? Well, in Winchester, it'd be the same number. So 30% of the capacity of that building in Winchester would still be the same percentage as a Sunday morning, right? In Kemptville, it'd be the same. You could have 250 students there on a Tuesday night if you wanted to. And so that's kind of where the restrictions have been lifted. So smaller groups, and you might not know this, but I got together several weeks ago with the MP and the MPP talking about this very thing. And we talked about the smaller groups are the ones that are suffering the most. And even some organizations and churches that offer NA or AA, they can't meet during this time, and so it's important to get these smaller groups together, and that's kind of one of the reasons they lifted the restrictions for churches. And so AMPed, they could meet like they normally do, really. Young adults could meet like they normally do. Life groups could actually meet like they normally do. But again, we're not in like a hurry to do it. We want to do it properly and make sure we're respectful of everyone and their health conditions. And so we're going to let you know over time, kind of week by week, what we're going to be opening up. And we are talking about that behind the scenes and what's going to open up first and what people are also feeling comfortable with. This is not just like a dictatorship. It's kind of like we're all in this together, and what do people feel comfortable with gathering and connecting with and praying and learning. And so you'll find out. We'll kind of keep you updated as much as we can. So I think that is all the questions that we have that came in tonight. Hopefully this was transparent for you. Hopefully you got some answers to some things that you were wondering. And I just thought it would be fitting to end the night in a word of prayer. And like I've said this a million times, but 3 years ago, we were praying that God would build a building for us, that people would come to know Jesus through this building. And let me just 3 years ago, let me just tell you what's happened since then, just to recap how good God is. All right, we've built that building. Like over 100 people have come to Jesus. Way more than that. We've launched a new campus, right? A whole bunch of people got saved and baptized in that new campus. We're building a rink, and we're launching another campus, and we're going through a pandemic. It's all this is absolutely mind-blowing what God has done in 3 years. And I don't want to speculate what he's going to do in 3 years, but if I know who God is and how faithful he's been in the past, I just know that whatever I dream is just not even enough compared to what his plans are, all right? And so let's just be faithful. Let's press into what he has for us and trust that he will do more than we plan for. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you for our family here at Southgate, and we are not perfect. We know that about each other. We know that about ourselves, but we do have, and this affinity for what you are doing and where you're leading us, God. And we want to lean into that. We want to trust you. We want to give you our uncertainties, give you our worries, give you our anxieties, and trust that you are going to do abundantly more than what our plans are, and abundantly more than what we're thinking about or what we're dreaming about, God. We're just trusting you to do something that is only explainable by you, and something that is just truly unique in Eastern Ontario here. And Father, we're just praying above all, more people would come to know you as their personal Lord and Savior. And so bless us, provide for us. May your peace rest upon us. May your blessings go before us, we pray. In the name of Jesus, amen. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon.